Hey everyone, welcome to Poisonous People. Today we're looking at the question, can I be a narcissist if I'm self-aware? There are actually 4 points that I want to look at when it comes to this question. So let's get into the obvious. Point number 1, what do people actually mean when they say self-aware? Nowadays, when people ask this question, what they're really asking is, can a narcissist know that they're narcissists? And the answer is, of course they can, and many do know that they're narcissists. This is a diagnosable, billable mental health condition. It's no different than any other diagnosed condition. So we don't go around asking, do diabetics know that they have diabetes? Or do people with OCD know that they have OCD? Narcissism is the exact same thing. It's no different. People don't know they have a condition until they do. So the answer to this is yes, of course you can be a self-aware narcissist if this is what you mean by self-aware. But this brings me to point number 2. Why is this an issue? Why are people asking this about narcissists? Why don't we ask this about diabetics or people who are depressed or people who have epilepsy? Why are we only asking this of narcissists? Well, the reason is because originally when people said that narcissists are typically not self-aware, they meant something completely different than what we have taken it to mean today. Traditionally, when we say that narcissists are not self-aware, we mean that they have no insight as far as how their behavior affects other people. Perhaps the most common example of a lack of self-awareness among narcissists is when a narcissist is trying very hard to live up to a certain image that he or she has made in their minds. And they think, if I just act this way, or if I just say this, the other person will think I'm really cool. Well, that falls flat a lot of times as well. And I cannot tell you how many times I've witnessed this happen, where a narcissist or a narcissistic person will say something or do something that is completely inappropriate. And you can just tell by the look on the narcissist's face that they're very proud of themselves. They think that they came off well, that they're really impressing everyone else. But if you look at everybody else in the room, they're kind of looking around uncomfortably. They might even be giggling. And it's because in reality, the narcissist made themselves look like a horse's ass. And they have no idea that people are laughing at them, not with them. We can trace this back to 2 of the diagnostic criteria. So it's either one or the other. Number 1 is grandiosity, and that actually happens to be criterion number 1 in the DSM. Grandiosity is when somebody overestimates their abilities and skills. So when the narcissist is at the party and he thinks he's funny, that's grandiosity. And this is going to blind that person to how he's really coming across. And it's going to cause him to be very ignorant as far as how foolish he actually looks. The second trait that will commonly interfere with a narcissist's self-awareness is trait number 7 in the DSM, and that is lack of empathy. So if I cannot relate to other people and what they're going through, if I'm not able to put myself in their shoes, I'm going to be oblivious to what they're feeling. I'm going to be oblivious to what they might be thinking of me. And so even that same party example, if I think I look cool and I'm funny and everyone wishes they were me, I I obviously don't have empathy for those people because I'm assuming that there's only one way of looking at this situation, and that's my way of looking at it. If I have a lack of empathy, I'm not able to consider that maybe some people don't think I'm so cute and funny. So typically when we say that narcissists aren't self-aware, this is what we really mean. And this lack of awareness is pretty standard across all personality disorders. Lack of insight is one of the hallmarks of a personality disorder, whether it's cluster A, cluster B, or cluster C. And if we're going to say that self-awareness is just a matter of knowing you have a diagnosis, I would challenge the idea that you're self-aware. I mean, really what we're saying is that they're just disorder aware. They're aware they have a disorder. But are we then equating the disorder with the self? Because a person is not their disorder. And ironically, narcissistic personality disorder is a disorder of the self. And so many narcissists could adopt the disorder as a type of identity. And in that sense, they think they are self-aware. But again, this also proves my point that they don't really have any insight as how they're coming across and how other people without these disorders live life and experience the world. So this brings me to point 3, and that is that self-awareness does not equal change. A lot of people can't wrap their head around why a self-aware narcissist wouldn't change. Those people are making the mistaken assumption that knowing I have a disorder equals wanting to change, the desire to change. And those two things are not partners. They don't necessarily go together. It's as if you said to me, hey, do you realize that your hair is curly? I mean, I'm going to look at you like, yeah, I know that. I'm aware that I have curly hair. And if you were then to say to me, well, aren't you going to do something about that? I mean, I would look at you like you were nuts because as far as I know, there's nothing wrong with having curly hair. I do realize it can be a bit unruly at times, and every video you click on, my hair looks different. But I don't think that's a problem. And I don't think I need to do something like shave my head or straighten my hair. This is how a narcissist typically sees their condition. They don't understand that their condition is a problem. It's a problem for everyone around them, but it is also a problem for them. They don't understand that they're actually missing out in the deeper, richer, more substantive experiences in life. And many times they settle for cheap substitutes, especially in the area of love and intimacy. And as I mentioned in my diagnostic video on admiration, many narcissists settle for admiration as a sloppy substitute to real love. If you've never known real love, if you've never given it or received it, you don't know what you're missing. So many narcissistic people are not self-aware, and if they don't see a problem, they're not going to change. But sometimes narcissists do have a second wave of self-awareness. The first wave is, of course, knowing that they have a disorder. The second wave is knowing that the disorder is a problem. And if a narcissist is fortunate enough to experience that second wave of awareness, this is where the exact opposite happens. A narcissist doesn't just become self-aware, a narcissist becomes hyper-aware. They do see that their behavior is affecting others. But because the nature of the disorder is so self-absorbed, a narcissistic person is still going to make this about them. When a narcissist becomes hyper-aware, their thought patterns become eerily similar to OCD. It doesn't offer the clarity that you would think, am I healing? Am I growing? Am I maturing? Or am I still going through this? And let me tell you, when it comes to arrogance, arrogance is a catch-22 because you will catch yourself being prideful, right? And you'll catch it and you're like, oh, there it is. That was arrogance. Oh, I don't want to do that anymore. And then you'll pat yourself on the back for catching it and stopping it. And then you become prideful about not being prideful. I bet there's a lot of you out there who go through the same thing. You might have OCD. You might be a perfectionist. You might have some other issue and you're aware how that affects other people. And you just keep going around and around and around and not really knowing which is it. Am I being honorable and noble by doing this thing, or do I have ulterior motives? And if we do not have NPD, if we're not narcissists, then we should have every understanding of what this is like. If we are truly self-aware of our own tendencies to have ulterior motives. And that's why the channel is called Poisonous People, because we're all poisonous people. We all have just a little bit of narcissism inside. When that person reaches that second wave of self-awareness, if they ever get to that point, they're going to need a lot of support, because this is the point that they have to get to in order to change. So, I bet you didn't have a clue just how complicated this question was. And you thought it was simple, right? Self-awareness is multifaceted. There's a lot of layers to get through. And I hope that this video helped you sort through some of those layers. I'm Jen Guerriero, and this is Poisonous People. Thanks for watching.